The Your Mark on the World show is made possible by our sponsors, including Gate Global Impact and media consultant Mike Schwager.
Welcome to Your Mark on the World, bringing you another changemaker with champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. Our guest today is Ajaita Shah. She is the CEO and founder of Frontier Markets, a social enterprise that is placing solar products through retail channels in India, in Rajasthan, India. And Ajaita joins us today from an airport in Delhi, and we're thrilled to have her on the show. So, Ajaita, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to having you today. Ajaita, tell us a little bit about what Frontier Markets is.
So Frontier Markets is a company that focuses on rural distribution, primarily looking at solar.
Great. So, Ajaita, let's talk a little bit about your story, because I think your personal story is particularly fascinating. Tell us a little bit about how you began your social entrepreneurship journey back in 2005.
So I started basically when I was working in microfinance, and I essentially was in these rural villages trying to understand how to better provide financial services to rural households. And having lived in these villages, I was dealing with their frustrations of not having electricity. And that frustration became very daunting, because what we saw was rural households not being able to be productive, not being able to really live a normal life, and instead started adapting kerosene as their solution, which is the most dangerous type of solution possible for lighting. And I've witnessed a lot of children actually dying in kerosene fires, and also started seeing people kind of accept that and realize that their life is frustrating, so therefore this is what they can either deal with or they can live in darkness. And that really bothered me. And so I started asking myself a fundamental question: couldn't solar be a solution? And wanted to try to understand how to get that solution to these households. The challenge that I saw in the sector was that people didn't really understand what solar was. They didn't really have access to it in terms of their backyard. They didn't really trust the solution, because any exposure they ever had to solar was pretty low in quality, and there was no after-sale service. And they really didn't know whether it was a good value proposition for them in terms of their affordability. And that's really what drove me to then want to set up Frontier Markets, where I took my experiences working in microfinance and understanding distribution and decided to apply it to solar, trying to address those 5 challenges, given the fact that I knew that I didn't want to see another child die or live in that kind of darkness myself. I'm ready. So my personal challenges at home. The main personal challenge at home that I essentially faced early on was that, typically Indian daughters growing up in families are expected to follow a certain path. You go to college, you start working for a typical job, usually like becoming a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor, something that's safe, something that is very easy for people to explain, what is it that my child does. But usually it's essentially a hobby or a temporary thing, because your ultimate goal is to get married and start a family and have kids and be a part of that really traditional route. And I, just like any other daughter, really wanted to fulfill that role or part in my life as well, because I'm very close to my parents and I really do respect the tradition and the culture that I'm from. Now, what I didn't understand though was balancing the passion that I have for changing the way I want the world to work, and really getting frustrated with the realities that I'm seeing, and also understanding my own skill sets that I had. I felt like that would be very limiting for me to only, coin or box myself into one role. And so I tried to have my cake and eat it too. I tried to do both. I tried to be this traditional daughter-in-law, be this loving daughter, be present, and then also still be this crazy social business CEO that's trying to solve the problems of solar in India. And I think that just really became extremely conflicting. And I really had to choose. And I think the limitations were quite clear that my community was also split. Some people understood what I was trying to do, some people didn't, especially the family that I was married to really didn't understand it. And they really kind of put me in a really tough situation where it was either lock your beliefs, forget your dreams, forget your passion, forget your identity, and kind of take on the role that you're supposed to because traditionally that's what's accepted, or let this go, leave us and be on your own. And the choice wasn't simple because it wasn't just about my life. It was about what I represent in the community, how it was going to affect my parents, how it was going to affect, this message about, what I care about. And as much as I tried balancing the two, I think the family just never understood who I was and where I was coming from. So thankfully, I was able to work this out quite intensely with my family, and I helped them understand that, I have a future beyond being caged, and I have the ability to actually, grow and change and help others. And I think that they saw that. And I think that's the biggest reason why they were so supportive from day one. And they knew that they couldn't kill my dreams. And they knew that I was meant to do some great things, and which is why they allowed me to make that tough decision. And they've been by my side, and we've been able to actually stand in front of the community and also show them that, look, daughters' lives don't end if their marriage ends. They actually have the ability to excel and still become something that they're capable of doing based on who their dreams and passions are. And what this has really done is it's given an incredible lesson for me to understand how my personal life actually becomes something that I recognize as a reality even in India when you're talking about rural women or any other traditional society. And it's allowing me to open up a much more different dialogue to really engage in that conversation. And how do we kind of change the mindsets of people to understand that, look, daughters are no different than sons. Women are not just wives and mothers, they're also leaders, and they can be businessmen, and they can be change makers. And how do we kind of combine that rhetoric in a very different way has kind of become something that I've been caring about a lot in the last couple of years.
Fantastic.
I think your next question is on who do I admire the most and why? Great. I'm glad this is working technology. I think I admire my dad the most. And the reason for that is because I think in the last couple of years, I've finally understood my connection to him as an entrepreneur. So my dad grew up in Rajasthan, but he left his comfort zone of family and life and took his wife and at that time his 1-month-old daughter, my older sister, to New York with nothing in his pockets, with this fundamental belief that he can actually become the diamond guy in New York City, with zero support. And the diamond industry is very risky, and he had a lot of ups and downs, but he always maintained a sense of resilience and calmness and patience, which has allowed him to really succeed in what he was setting out to do. And being an entrepreneur myself, I understand that it takes gut checks, resilience, strength, patience, to really work on something like this and still provide for your family. So I have a lot of respect for him and admire where he came from, because I feel like we now suddenly have a lot of more things in common.
Wonderful.
So your number 3 says, what is the one thing that consistency enables me to have impact, right? So I'm assuming this is the question that you're asking. So one thing that I think I've really done well in the last, I'd say 10 years, or maybe even more, actually, I'd say 15 years since I was in college, is network myself around like-minded people and mentors and supporters. I don't think this kind of journey could ever happen on your own. It's not a one-man show ever. And I've definitely, in the last 15 to 20 years, have been super lucky having incredible professors, incredible board advisors, incredible investors, impact investors, incredible ecosystem enablers. So whether that's Echo and Green or Dustra or Acumen Fund or Seed Fund or Beyond Capital, even individual mentors have been amazing, life coaches. And what's been great is they help me have my check. So how do I stay grounded to be able to fight the battles that I have to retain that resilience, to create that impact? And if I were to give anyone any advice starting this journey, understand that you should constantly be questioning yourself, but not by yourself, with an entire group of people that sincerely can care about you and have the resources to help you get into that next level. Because let's be honest, I'm 31. There's people with me aside from me that have a lot more experience, and that's been really helpful.
Okay.
Great.
There's one more question there.
Are we on the why do you care about this? Okay, great. So it's an interesting thing. Growing up in the US has been a mix between comfort and challenges. I think I've constantly been wanting to prove myself as being beyond, who I was in my community. But I think that also made me think a lot about the role of women and just our capabilities as leaders in the future. But then going to India, I think everything just kind of heightened. Living in these villages, I felt the frustration. I mean, we are very lucky to be living the kind of life that we do, and we have lights that are predictable, power that is predictable, and access to kind of the basic needs, which allows us to think about education, think about, our futures, and spending time with, over 225,000 people in the last couple of years. I've gotten to really see an incredible pain that has actually started making me angry. And I kind of find it to be very unjustifying. And I think that really is what motivates me, where I look at them and I go, can I actually help people understand that your life can be changed by your own fruition? And I think what keeps me going is the fact that I'm starting to think through my own skill sets and my own passion, and how do I evoke empathy into others to think about where they also step up. So there have been two purposes. One has been this idea that I can set up a company which really focuses on an easy life. How do we make life less frustrating for ones that have a very frustrating life? And second is, how do we build more leaders and get people to start acting for themselves, asking tougher questions, and really starting to build movements? And I think that's what kind of keeps driving me and why I care about it so much.
Well, Ajaita, we are so thrilled that we've had you today, and thank you for taking the time to be with us. It's been just delightful. I apologize to you and the listeners for the technical problems today, but I'm glad we were able to ultimately get some great information from you and some really inspiring thoughts. We want to wish you every success in the great work that you're doing. And let me just close by saying, let's do some good. At the intersection of financial services and social media, Gate Global Impact, GGI, uses new market infrastructure to facilitate investments in organizations that deliver a societal, environmental, and/or a cause-related benefit in addition to a financial return. Mike Schwager promotes authors, nonprofits, and humanitarian organizations. He also writes speeches that inspire, and he helps prepare leaders for appearances on major national TV talk shows. Learn more at MediaMavens.com or TVTraining.tv. Call him at 954-423-4414.
Thank you for listening. This podcast was recorded via Google Hangouts on Air and is available at youtube.com/Devin Thorpe. Subscribe to this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes by searching for Your Mark on the World. Every weekday, Devin hosts a CEO, celebrity, entrepreneur, or other changemaker here on the Your Mark on the World show to inspire and prepare you to make your mark. Devin is a champion of social good, writing about, advocating for, and advising people who are doing good. He is a Forbes contributor who is a recognized thought leader in social entrepreneurship, impact investing, and crowdfunding. To book Devin as a speaker, visit devinthorpe.com. Learn more about Devin's work at yourmarkontheworld.com.